So another puppy training myth we've heard is that when, let's say, my puppy does pee on poo, like we were talking about, that they're doing it out of spite. What thoughts does that myth elicit in Toby? And let me facilitate. Matt, you can go first.
I can see Tanya's face, by the way. It looks like there's like rage boiling underneath her face as she's listening to this prompt. So I think that I get this the most often when clients say to me, my puppy just squatted and stared at me in the eyes. I know they peed out of spite. And that always honestly, I laugh. And I think you do have to bring a little bit of lightness into these types of sessions when we're dealing with things that we know that are probably not realistically true. So your puppy is not peeing out of spite. The reality is that asking a puppy to hold their bladder for, especially when they're younger, up to 2 hours at a time in an apartment setting, that's not necessarily happening in, a house that has a yard. And also, our puppies' bladders just naturally become more capable of holding urine for longer amounts of time as they age. So in the very beginning stages, when your puppy is running around, when your puppy goes through any kind of like transition, so sleep to awake, play to rest, anything like that, they're going to need to go to the bathroom. And sometimes they just need to go to the bathroom before they're even thinking about the fact that they need to go to the bathroom, right? So sometimes those accidents where they all of a sudden squat and are staring at you, they're probably looking at you because you are the only other person in the room, and they've either received treats from you after going to the bathroom in outdoor contexts, or they've received punishment from you in indoor contexts. So they're looking to you because they expect one of the two options, potentially. So they're just going to the bathroom because they have probably hit one of those transitional phases. They're not at the point where they know that the bathroom is outside and not inside. And their body is just doing what it's meant to do, which is to relieve themselves. So your puppy is not doing this out of spite. It's just a natural behavior, and it happens to take place quite a lot when we as humans expect our puppies to not go to the bathroom. But at the same time, we as humans have bathrooms accessible to us all the time. And if we're thinking about babies, right, they wear diapers. They have bathrooms accessible to them all the time. We don't expect babies to hold their bladders.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you were saying that part with the looking at us, I realized that our dog Zippo sometimes looks at me when he poops. Like adult dogs also stare at us when they go to the bathroom. I don't know. That's just my observations. But yeah, when you were asking this question, I was thinking about a specific client that I think that sometimes when we have these like emotions, right? Nobody likes coming back and let's say their dog has peed on their bed. So nobody likes that. You have high emotions, a lot of frustration, disappointment, even anger sometimes. And we need to explain things to ourselves, right? It's like, why would they do that? Why did it happen? So I was thinking about this client who, she was so convinced that it was out of spite because when she would leave the home, then the dog would go and like pee on her bed or poop on her bed. Obviously, that's the worst place to pee or poop. I understand like the big frustration with it. But we also had to have the conversation like, why? Like, could it be possible that your dog is struggling when you leave them? Could they have separation anxiety? Can we dig deeper into what happens? Like, can we put a camera to observe your dog? What happens when you leave? Because sometimes it can be just easy to explain things to ourselves with the easiest possible solution, and that's fine. That's a way that we explain things to ourselves, even in science. But sometimes when we're putting intent behind some other creature's behavior, I think we need to dig deeper into what's happening there and also be open to the possibility that there is some other explanation behind this behavior. Because I think that if we're also thinking that they're doing it out of spite to harm us, to show us, then we're starting to kind of enter this point of our relationship is maybe falling apart a little bit. There is just like too much frustration between the two of us, and that's obviously not a healthy place or a good place to be, especially when you're raising a baby or a toddler.
Yeah.
Dog.
Yeah. A thought that I had about spite too is I think if you're viewing that puppy in that way, I think you got to examine how that extends to maybe your own personal life. Like, am I just defaulting to thinking that people are acting out of spite to me? Like, if someone cuts you off or on the freeway, are you immediately like, oh, that guy is just disrespecting me and being rude? It's so easy for our minds to go there. And so I think sometimes we all need to pull back and be like, is this kind of my default operating system about how I fill in the blanks when I have a lack of information about whoever I interact with? And if that's true, I think we have to examine, those like automatic responses that we have, and like again, like is that serving us? Is that moving us forward? Is that improving our relationships with either strangers or our friends? So yeah, those are just some of my thoughts in terms of spite.
Yeah, that's a great point. I really like that as well.